Hello, everyone. This is Trini from Easy Human Design, and today we are going to do an introductory video. I'm going to be teaching you how to read your human design body graph in a very simple way. Briefly, what I'm going to go through in this video is what website I recommend for you to start with. I am going to name a couple of other alternative websites and teach you why you would want to go that route. We're going to talk about when you first look at your chart, it can be very confusing. So what kind of aspects do you want to focus on first? What do you want to kind of remember about your chart and the information you're being given so that you can go and start maybe researching on your own, or just what's important to remember. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what the chart has to offer. So stick with me if you're just starting with human design and you want to have an idea of what the hell your body graph is saying to you. So for this video, I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to start by sharing this screen with you guys because this is the website that I recommend you start with. I am going to talk about different websites, but I recommend you go to mybodygraph.com and you just sign up just like you would any other website. You go over here and it's going to ask you right away for your birth information. It's important that you know that in order to get an accurate human design body graph, you should have your time of birth hopefully as accurate as possible. There are elements in the chart that, even though they're not beginner elements that you would look at right away, that are super cool to look at, super cool to work with, but they are super volatile in terms of your time. So sometimes, even if your time is like minutes away, it will change some aspects of your chart. However, don't get discouraged, because if you just have an estimation of your time, you can still, compute your body graph and get, a big idea of what your chart is going to say. If you have a big range where it's like, it's like the morning, but you don't know when, what I would advise you to do is to run your chart through different times of that time slot that you have and see how much the things change. Hopefully the type, the authority, big things like that profile will stay the same. If they don't, then you want to check which resonates for you more. But a lot of people are able to get, their exact birth time. So you're going to want to put all that info over here. And so what the website is going to do is going to run your chart right away and give it to you. So I have over here already my body graph website, that is already filled with charts, a lot of my clients' charts too. And this is my chart. And the reason why I think this website is really easy and good to start with is because, one, you can hover over things and it will give you some kind of information. I remember when I first started with human design, I first looked at my chart. I didn't know what the hell I was looking at, but I didn't know that the little information I was getting from these things, even if it was a little confusing at times, it really resonated with me, and it was what made me want to dive deeper. And then the other good thing about this website is that it gives you all the chart properties to the right. So one thing you want to make sure with this website is that you're clicking on my body graph over here. You're not going to talking body graph, because that's going to ask you to purchase a bunch of stuff and you don't need that. So go to my body graphs and you get this. And so here on the right, this list of attributes is where you want to kind of look at, because it's going to give you the big things. And there are 3 big things in human design that you want to start with, at least my opinion and my recommendation. And I think most professionals' recommendations is you want to make sure you know your type. So right over here, you can see that my type is a generator. And so yours might say generator, yours might say manifesting generator, it might say manifestor, reflector, or projector. Those are the 5 types in human design. So you want to remember that. And with the type actually goes the strategy. So each strategy is going to be determined by your type. Every generator is going to be to respond. Okay, every manifestor is going to be to inform, and so on. So you want to remember your type, your strategy. Maybe you're writing these down like in a little post-it note or something like that. And then you want to remember your authority. So your authority might be solar plexus, might be splenic. Basically, it's pointing to one of the centers. And we'll talk about the different elements of the chart as well. And you want to remember your profile. And your profile is going to be a set of numbers, a couple of numbers divided together, kind of looking like a fraction. So you can see mine here is 4 and 6. And actually, you don't need to know this, but where it's coming from, it's from these little decimal points on this first gate that we call it. This is your conscious sun gate, and this is your unconscious sun gate. And so it's coming from these little decimal points. You can see that's a 4 for me, and then it's a 6 on the red side. And together they make my profile. The first right side is the first one, and the left side is the second one. So to recap what I just said just now, basically when you're starting with human design, you want to know your type, you want to know your authority, and you want to know your profile. Why do I say this? First of all, those are the most kind of the easiest way to jump into human design and start understanding what the system has to offer you, what the system is saying about you, and how you should maybe alter your behavior in order to live more aligned. And then also, when you're going to look for information, either online, on Google, on a search engine, or you're going to go into Instagram with all of the available information there's so much, you guys. A lot of the times the content is divided into these things. So it might say for profile line 1, for profile line 2, for profile line 3, and there's 6 lines of profiles. And so you, in that case, if you were me with a 4/6 profile, you would want to read profile line 4 and profile line 6. Again, it's going to be divided in types. So it's going to be for generators, for projectors, for manifestors. And you're going to want to look at your type and read the information about your type. There's less about authority, I would say, out there, but it's important to know because authority is actually how you're going to make decisions. So let's go over that. Remember, big 3: type, authority, and profile. So the type is going to be the way that you interact, the way that you're supposed to exchange energy with the outer world. And your strategy is going to give you that information of what you're supposed to do. And I'm not going to go over the strategies in this video because that would take way too long. I'm doing it in other videos, so go check out my other videos. But basically, learning your strategy is the most important thing in human design. It's not just learning it and you're done. It's about learning, experimenting, learning a bit more, understanding a bit more, experimenting a bit more. All right. And then you have your authority, which is going to be your decision-making agent. What's going to be the thing that is going to allow you to make the best decisions. So just a small example so you get an idea. For me, it's my emotional solar plexus. If you're an emotional authority in human design, in general, what it means is you are not here to make impulsive decisions. You actually need time to gain clarity and make decisions. And then basically your profile is going to be like your costume, the costume you're wearing, the character you're coming here with in order to fulfill your life purpose. And these 2 numbers give you insights on the way you learn, the way you interact with people, the way you're here to share your gifts with the world. All right. And so obviously we'll do profiles in another video. And of course, if you want to go in length and in depth towards your chart, then do check out my master classes because those have all the juiciness inside. Of course, this is just an introductory video. So those are the big 3 of your chart that I recommend you get acquainted with, that you write somewhere down and then you start learning about. Take it slowly, take it easy. This is a journey. This is not, you don't have to learn everything right away. The more you take time to integrate, the more useful, the more effective it's going to be in actually being something that changes your life. And that's what we want with human design. We don't want it to just be another system that we get, a little obsessed with and learning about ourselves in the egoic way. We really want to start integrating the information, taking what resonates and seeing how it can actually create a shift in our lives where we're letting go of the person we've become because we've been following societal norms, because we've been conditioned subconsciously, and how can we start becoming more a version of our truest self, of our designed self. And then finally, what I wanted to mention, actually, there's a couple things. So I'm going to just go over the chart to show you and to tell you what things are. Again, don't get overwhelmed. Don't feel like you have to know and memorize all this right away. But I do think it is useful to hear the vocab that we use because you're going to hear this vocab a lot. And if you at least know what it is, what I'm pointing to in the chart, then what's gonna happen is you're gonna get less overwhelmed, because sometimes if you just hear all these like channel and gate and variable and all these things, you're like, okay, I'm just not, I don't know what this thing is. So maybe it can be a little bit like you get turned off by all this stuff. So I'm going to give you the vocab that we use just so that you can have that. And then I'm going to go over why I would sometimes use another website. So basically, when you see your chart, you're going to, I think what's most evident is the 9 centers. So these triangles, squares, diamonds, they're called the centers. Okay. And each name appears here in my body graph. So that's a cool thing about my body graph is it says the head center, the ajna center, the throat center. This is the G center, and sometimes we call it the center of the self interchangeably. The heart center, sometimes called the ego center as well. The solar plexus, or sometimes called emotional center. The sacral, 2 ways of pronouncing it, the root center, and then this is the spleen. Okay, so those are the centers, and they correspond to the Hindu chakra system. Each center and everything in your chart can be colored or uncolored. The language we use for that is defined or undefined. When something is colored, like my sacral over here, we say it's defined. When something is white, like my G center over here, we say it's open or undefined. Then we have lines over here that are actually channels. So if you look at a complete channel in my chart, you could find the 952 channel. When 2 gates join each other, both of them are defined, that forms a channel in the chart. So in my chart, I have 2 channels. Can you find them? It's the 952 over here, and then there's one over here, the 4037. So I have 2 complete channels. You might have more, you might have less. It's not better or worse to have more or less. And then when we have a gate, which are all these little numbers that actually stay the same for everyone in terms of where they are, but they're either defined or undefined for people, then we have a gate. So for example, I have gate 61 defined. I have gate 43 defined. Now, when it's a defined gate and it doesn't join on the other side with the other gate, we call it a hanging gate. Like gate 43 would be a hanging gate because it's not connecting to gate 23 in the throat. So the little numbers are gates. The arrows on top are a more advanced part of human design. I don't recommend it's the first thing you jump into. Definitely you want to be, feeling pretty confident about your strategy, authority, and stuff before you jump into that. But we call these the variables. So these are the variables, and they're going to give us a lot of information as well. And then we have all the gates listed on different sides of the chart. This side of the chart, which is usually in black or darker, is going to be the conscious aspect, the personality aspect. We call it the personality. It's the conscious aspect, okay? And this red part is called the design, and it's more unconscious. And so you're going to have activations, gates that are lit up in the unconscious part of you, the design, and there's going to be others that are lit up more consciously, and that's going to have to do with some things that are more natural to you that you kind of do without noticing, and then some other things that are more that you recognize more in yourself. Each of these gates are activated through a planet, or north node, south node, moon, Mercury, and all these things. And that's cool about this website, that you can go familiarizing yourself with the signs of the planets, because later you're going to learn that the planets also give each gate a different kind of taste. And then there's also a line, that little number after the decimal, like the period, that I mentioned before when we were talking about profile here with a 4-6, they're actually called lines. There's 6 lines in human design, and so you're either going to have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or a 6 after each gate, and that's going to give it a different taste as well. That's more advanced. And then the last thing I'll say about this is that you might have activations that are double. So because I know that a lot of you guys are visual and you just need to know things, and a lot of people are like, why is this one red and why is this one black and why is this one red and black? That feels more important. And actually it is more important. So when you have something that's red, it's actually activated through your design side. When you have something that's black, it's actually activated through your personality side. When it's black or personality, it's going to be something you see more obviously in you. When it's red or design, it's going to be, more subconscious, more unconscious. It's going to be something that people see in you, but you don't necessarily recognize yourself. And then when it's double, it actually means it's activated 2 or more times, 1 in each side. So it's actually believed that that's because it's something that you really, really came here to live and learn. I think that's what I'm going to go through in terms of understanding the body graph. I think that's enough information. The last thing I'm going to say is that there are 2 other websites that I use. One I'm not going to show you, but I'm going to mention, which is geneticmatrix.com. Geneticmatrix.com is actually really good if you end up, being a professional human design reader, or you want to look at deeper aspects of the chart. You actually have to pay for it for the version that I'm talking about, where you get more information, but it's actually pretty cool. That's the one I use for a lot of my readings. And then the other one that I am going to show you is called My Human Design. And this website is by Jenna Zoe. She's a human design teacher as well. And the thing about this chart, and I'm going to log in here to show you, is that, well, the first thing, a lot of people like it because it's like more friendly to the eye. I actually think the other one's better because the colors just pop up more and it's more traditional in that way. I like it more. But the thing with this one is it gives you some information that my body graph doesn't give you. So this is a chart. Okay, let me go to my chart so that I'm not going to anyone's. Here we go. This is my chart. So it's the same thing we just saw. As you can see, it's more aesthetically pleasing maybe. But then she goes and she gives you some information over here, which is digestion, stronger sense, and environment. Okay. And I'm not going to go over what those are. They have to do with the variables that I talked about. They have to do with the arrows that are on the top, the 4 arrows. And a lot of people, they really want to know that information for themselves because it talks about, how you're supposed to eat, digest information as well. What kind of environment is good for you? And, you can't get that info with just my body graph. You have to either get read by a professional or get the more advanced version of Genetic Matrix and pay for it. So this is a really good web page to use that you can get for free to get that extra little bits of info. I will say again, I do not recommend jumping into these little bits of info right away. But I know if you're curious, like I was, maybe you're just going to do that and start experimenting with it. And that's okay. Just make sure you go with your strategy and your authority. All right. So let me stop this share and say, I hope that was, a good introduction for you of the human design body graph. I know that I wish I had something like that when I first started because I was just so into it and it just was calling me and resonating so much, but I was also a little bit overwhelmed. So now you have that video. You can watch it as many times as you want. You can maybe print out your chart and label it if you want, so you can start getting acquainted with the language. Remember, type, strategy, authority, profile, the big 3, because strategy goes with type, but the big 4 really. So good luck in this human design journey that you're starting with. If you want to learn more from me, just check out the links below. And if you like this free content and you like my energy, please make sure to like my video and subscribe to my channel and set on the notifications, because all that stuff, as you know, really helps me, spread my work to all the little corners of the internet. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.